America, my name is Osei-Frimpong, and you're watching The Black Athenians. I come to you every Friday at around 4 o'clock, and we talk about the issues that will make you more politically wise. And today we're going to talk about legal care. Legal care for all on the model of single-payer healthcare. Because despite what you might have learned in your civics classes, you don't have any rights in these United States unless you have a lawyer who's willing to press your case. I'll say that again. You don't have any rights in these United States unless you have a lawyer who's willing to press your case. And if you don't have access to a lawyer, you don't really have access to secure your rights, because the court is where all of these claims are being worked out. Right? That's where you can get your judgment, right? So I forgot to find me the Peter Thiel, intercept Peter Thiel, single-digit millionaire. Give me that headline. All right, so I got this idea from, there's a philosopher running for Senate, in U.S. Senate in Georgia by the name of Richard Dean Winfield. And he's running on a platform of legal care for all, with the idea that, look, we are a nation of laws so that we're no longer at the capricious will of some king, right? So like King George gets upset, and then all of a sudden we have to go to war. We don't want that. We want a nation of laws. And then we want to be able to make the laws so that we're actually under a government that we ourselves made. And that's supposed to be a form of self-determination. However, if you're under a nation of laws, but you don't have a lawyer, you're just as vulnerable as you were, you're vulnerable to the people with access to lawyers. So it's just another kind of feudalism. So we have a nation of laws, but we only have the top 20% of Americans have access to a lawyer when they want one. And then another 40 have maybe a cousin who will take it. But other than that, you're worried about your rights are being defended by someone else's charity called legal aid or pro bono. Or if it's not charity, maybe you'll find an ambulance chaser who's going to take it on contingencies. But those people are sharks. And if they don't see a payday at the end of it, it's not about your rights, it's about their payday. So you don't have rights. What you have is a possibility that someone else is going to gamble on you. I'm in the hood, so I'm getting some hood sounds in the background. But so you understand, if you have rights, that means it's supposed to be secured by the governing power. And they're not supposed to be at the capricious will of someone else. Now, last week or a few weeks ago, I did a show with a survivor, I'll call her a survivor, of Linentown. Linentown was a little black neighborhood that the university in Athens, Georgia, that the university decided it wanted, so it took. And the university had legal representation. The little black people in the neighborhood didn't have legal representation, which means that the university has access to cops. And the little black people in the university didn't have access to cops, so they left. They were run out. There was an asymmetrical level of representation. So the black community's property rights, their deeds, because these are people who owned houses, they didn't matter because they didn't have anyone who would press their deed. They didn't have anyone who would press their claim. So if you have lawyers in the United States, you have rights. If you don't have lawyers, you're just at the will of someone who has lawyers. Do we have the Peter Thiel headline?
Yep.
All right, so this is a headline of Peter Thiel was one of the founders of PayPal, so he's a billionaire with a B. Billionaire. And Peter Thiel's saying, look, if you're just a single-digit millionaire, you don't really have access to the legal system. You don't really have rights in the United States. I'll say that again. A billionaire is telling you, if you're just a single-digit millionaire, you really don't have rights in these United States. He can do whatever he wants to you because you're just a single-digit millionaire. Now give me the graph with the black people, the blue line. Mm-hmm. All right, so Peter Thiel is telling you that single-digit millionaires don't have access to legal rights. What do you think about us? What does that say about us? It does. We're hanging out at a median net worth of $1,700. Right? So Peter Thiel can do anything he wants to us, and you know what we're going to do? Nothing. We're going to take it. We're going to take it because that's where we are. Your boss doesn't pay you or expects you to work overtime or something like that, you're not going to do nothing. Because if you're not working a unionized job, you don't have access to the union lawyers. And if it's just you, you're not going to take it. Like, it's not the doctor does you dirty, you're just going to take it. Like you don't have access to rights because you don't have an access to press your claim, because no lawyer is going to take you unless it's such a clear case. They pretty much have to look in your face and say, look, nigger. And then you need to get them on video with your phone out. Then maybe you might get a little something. But there needs to be video involved. They need to be like, so if you're just regular harassment or regular eviction, you don't have real rights. People can say and do whatever they want to. Your livelihood on your job site, it's at your boss's discretion, because you can't press the claim to actually secure justice on the work site. If your landlord doesn't want to fix your apartment, what are you going to do? Sue him? No, you're not. Who's going to take that case? You don't have renters' rights. Your landlord has a lawyer. You don't. You know how this ends? All right. So you don't have rights unless you have access to legal counsel, and not just like one lawyer. You need a team that's as big as the team that you're going to be going against. You need equal opportunity. And it shouldn't depend on money. Rights should not depend on resources. Else they're not rights. They're something else. They're the privilege of the wealthy. So insofar as you do have rights in the United States, but you don't have access to a lawyer, you don't have rights. You're just living at someone else's pleasure. And that's a lot of black life. And that's why a lot of black life is making white people comfortable. And since I don't do that very well, I'm going to need you to go to www.thefunkyacademic.com and kick in. You can kick in $5, $15, $50 a month, or you can give this one big, enormous donation, because I'm making myself downright unemployable, depending on who you talk to, downright unemployable by doing this podcast. But I do it for the people, because the people want... What's up? Oh, yeah. And the people, because the people want to know. The people want to know, like why they're not doing so well. So I do it for the people. And I try to make the quality of arguments you can give to your friends and family over a dinner table or like, I don't know, like at the supermarket or whatever. And so if someone says, why should we have legal care for all? It's because without legal care for all, on the model of single-payer health care, which is if you have a problem, you go to an office, they assign you a caseworker who's a lawyer, and then we decide how big your team's going to be, and then we go and press your case. Because if you don't have access to that, you don't really have rights. You don't really have rights because you have no means to defend them against people who do. And there needs to be equal opportunity to defend your rights for them to be rights and not privileges. That's what separates rights from privileges. Rights entail an equal opportunity for everyone to exercise it in a way that everyone else exercises it. Privileges, on the other hand, is something that you can do that other people can't, and sometimes you can do it to other people because they can't say no. That's your privilege, right? So if it's asymmetrical, it's a privilege. If it's equal opportunity, it's a right. And right now in the legal system, black people, it's not equal opportunity because we don't have the disposable resources to hire lawyers to press our claim. So we're at the mercy of anyone. This is also why in criminal investigations across the United States, 90 to 95% end in a plea bargain. In criminal prosecutions, 90 to 95% end in a plea bargain. It's just because people don't want to fight, and they don't have the resources to fight, and they'd rather just get out because they don't have the resources to fight. They don't have the resources to fight for the right bail. They don't have the resources to fight for the right sentencing. They don't have the resources to press their claim. They don't have the resources to fight, so they just plea. That's 90 to 95%. In Athens, it's up to 97% of criminal cases end in a plea bargain. And that just means you'll take that's pretty much, that's not a fair trial. That's you taking whatever the prosecutor feels like giving you. That is unfortunate because you don't have access to a lawyer. The last time I was locked up, I was in Chicago. And I remember I came out. They take your glasses away in the prison in Chicago. That was unfortunate because I was actually having a pretty decent time because people in Chicago prisons are actually very entertaining. People in my grad school class at the University of Chicago were less entertaining. So I was actually being I was getting my laughs on while I was locked up in the prison, but enjoying that more than I was enjoying class. but I couldn't see anything, so that was demoralizing. So they let me out into the courtroom, and I'm stumbling out. Can't see anything. My vision without my glasses like 2600, and I stumble out, and there's my public defender, and there's the judge, and I'm like, who, what? And then the prosecutor says something, the judge says something, bangs her gavel, and then that was it. I did not meet my public defender. Like it was a smallish Asian woman. That's all I remember of her. She didn't know me. That's not legal care. That's like getting diagnosed with cancer and then going to the emergency room and they give you a Band-Aid. Like that's not what I want. I want a team. That's what you get when you get cancer. You get a team on your cancer team to help you. I want a team of lawyers to press my rights if they're going to be what we consider rights. So I need a quality of legal insurance that's paid for by the government. We just call it single-payer legal care. And look, both law and medicine are prestige services. If we can figure out how to pay doctors enough that everyone can get the quality of medical care that they deserve, we ought to be able to pay lawyers enough that everyone gets the quality of legal care they deserve. If we're going to take our freedom seriously, if we're going to take our nation seriously, and I think it's the right claim if we're serious about self-determination. And if we're serious about making sure that citizens are equal as citizens and not just pray for the people who do have access to lawyers. So as a matter of right, in a nation of laws, you need access to a lawyer to press. You need to press your claim in court because that's where rights are worked out, in court. Right? And if you do that, I think we'll do a lot. We'll do really good things with respect to workforce discrimination, with respect to housing discrimination, with respect to just pressing your claim. All the places black people get exploited, we get exploited because we can't fight back. This will enable us to fight back, and we should be able to fight back as a matter of right. Like, your access to your rights should not depend on your income or the amount of disposable money you have to pay a lawyer. So yeah, we need single-payer legal care, where you get the legal assistance you need to press your claim because you have a claim as a matter of right in the United States. And without that, you're not free. Like what are you gonna, if your landlord doesn't want to fix your septic system and you're broke, what are you gonna do? Nothing. What you're gonna do is walk around in your own poop because the septic system's not fixed and like you can't get a hold of the landlord. You don't have any legal care. You can't make that claim. You don't have rights. So in order for us to be free, we need to start talking about, for all citizens to be free, we need to start talking about legal care. So we're not at the charity of legal aid, and we're not at the I don't know, like these ambulance chasers. They want a sure check at the end before they take your case. So that's not rights. That's dependent on some gambling lawyer who's going to take a third of your cut when you're done. So we need legal care that's guaranteed by right, not by charity and not by, the market forces, not by somebody else's greed. And we need to take our rights off of like the profit motive. So I hope that was clear, and I hope that's a clear case for legal care. And if you want to know more about it, I put the Senator Winfield's information in the description. I think it would revolutionize black life. If we had access to a lawyer anytime we wanted to, if black people had access to fair legal representation every time they had a claim, then I think we'd be in a different place. And I think everyone should have access to a lawyer every time they have a legal claim, insofar as the United States is a nation of rights. So you can't put everybody under the law, but only give one sliver of the population access to legal assistance, because the law is technical. And so you need expertise in order to press your claim. This is institutionalized. Now, we institutionalize this with the Sixth Amendment. Can you give me the Sixth Amendment? We institutionalize this with the Sixth Amendment. And so the Sixth Amendment says you have access to a speedy trial and a court-appointed lawyer. But that though it's with public defenders who are overstaffed. Who are understaffed and overworked, and that's just with criminal cases. We need this for civil cases as well as criminal cases, because your rights don't stop being rights just because they're civil rights. All right? So we need people to have access to civil representation as a matter of right if we're going to call them civil rights. And this is important because Brian Kemp, the governor in Georgia, can you give me the Kemp? He's trying to cut the public defender's office by a few $1 million. And people are saying, like, no, you can't cut the public defender's office by a few $1 million. Well, that's the wrong argument. That's the wrong argument. Because one, everybody who's worked with public defenders knows that's not the greatest system. Two, you're not making the argument by right. You're just trying to claw back a few $1 million. You're not saying, like, no, everybody in Georgia needs access to a lawyer when they need access to a lawyer. As a matter of right. That's what it is to be a citizen in a nation of laws. Right? You can't be a citizen in a nation of laws and have some people have access to lawyers, but not everyone. Because then you're not a citizen. You pretty much just are the prey or the tool of the people who have access to lawyers. Right? So the right argument Democrats should make against Kemp's trying to short public defenders is saying, like, everybody in Georgia should have access to a lawyer as a matter of right. Not just, well, please give us $3 more million. No, say, like, no, we need to secure rights. Will you give us as much money as it takes to secure our rights? I don't care how much we have to tax Ted Turner. These are rights we're talking about. So that's the right claim. I say Ted Turner because he's the richest man or the biggest landowner in Georgia. So if we have to tax him in order to make sure that everybody in Georgia gets the legal representation that they deserve, then that's what we do. Because if we don't do that, then Ted Turner's accumulating wealth off of an oppressive system, which I don't think anybody wants to look too closely at how Ted Turner bought his land. Anyway, but if I had lawyers, I'm sure a lot of claims could be made. So I want to get off with legal care for all on the model of single payer healthcare. We don't want to be prey to a capricious fact of nature. So that means that I need single payer healthcare so that if I get a bad diagnosis, it doesn't screw up the last 20 years of savings I have just because, like, some fact of nature screws up my health. And we need single payer legal care because I shouldn't be a prey to some capricious appetite of some billionaire who happens to have access to lawyers. Or if you're in Lindentown, the people who want to the university who's going to have access to lawyers, I know how much the university top lawyer makes because he went after me last year, and yet I survived. He makes $250,000 a year. So they have a lawyer, they pay $250,000 a year to come get your property. And he's got a team of other lawyers that they pay $200,000 a year to get your property. And if you're a black property owner in a place that the university wants, you have nothing. And so the university is going to get it because you don't have legal resources. All right. I hope that's been helpful. Thank you for your time. Legal care for all on the model of single payer healthcare. It's the next march towards freedom. Once we get our federal job guarantee right, once we get single Medicare for all, we need to start talking about legal care for all if we are going to be serious about rights in the United States. You don't have rights if you don't have access to a lawyer, because that's where we work all these things out. And you know this, black people, because many of you have had a good claim. You took it to a lawyer and they're like, well, you have a good claim, but I'm going to need $7,000 in order to file out the paperwork for you. And you didn't have it, so you pretty much you took it. You just took it in the butt because that's what it's like when you don't have access to a lawyer in a nation of laws where lawyers win. All right, thank you for your time. I will see you next week.